Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Ideas Sin. My name is Denise, and today I'm excited to introduce to you David. How's it going?
Hello, it's going great. Denise, thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. And Zena's already pitching in too, so she's co-producer for the episode.
Oh,
So,
that's great.
yeah, how's everything been? I mean, you and I met a few weeks. Well, we met like a few weeks ago now.
Yeah.
At this like music producer DJ party thing, right? Is that like safe to call it that? I'm not even sure.
Yeah, I think that sounds really accurate. I think, yeah, is a producer showcase house party thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And so how did you end up hearing about that? Because I think the Austin Producer Alliance is what they're called, is very new, right?
Mm, so yeah, I guess they've been around for a few months, and I discovered them randomly one day on Eventbrite. I always look for networking or like kind of similar or just events that I'm interested in or like that are in my realm of things, and I found them and I started going loosely to the event because I'm currently living in San Antonio, which is like 100 miles away.
Oh, you
So to go to
are. Oh, I
yeah,
didn't know
yeah.
that. Okay.
Yeah, I was living in Austin and I will be back, but right now I'm saving money from Austin rent prices. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, so I go to their events every now and then they posted on their Discord they were having a party. When I saw the flyer, I wasn't sure what to expect, but I got to show love to people. So,
Yeah. And did
ha,
you Oh, go ahead.
no, you go.
Well, I was going to ask, did you, I mean, were you able to make connections within the group after attending a few events, or were you still kind of meeting people that night that we were all hanging out?
Yeah, I guess I made the connections before, like in the sense like sometimes they'll have these workshops, which I think are really cool. Like they'll have these workshops where they'll put these samples, like these like song, like pieces of a song or whatever, and they're all like royalty free or they come from the same source, and then they'll say, okay, for today's meetup, for the next 2 hours, these are the samples to choose from. Everybody has their computers or the computers at this is at Austin Community College, and everybody will compose an original piece, and then it'll be like a workshop. Everybody will showcase, and I had met some of the guys there and chatted with them, and it's still like when events are still like no matter how casual an event is, right? There's still a certain level of formality. But then when you're in a party, like a social event, it's a completely different, like you connect. I connected with some of the people on a level that like you just can't do in a workshop. And I thought that was super dope. And then we met on a dance floor. Like
Yeah.
it's fire.
I know, right? I know. That was a lot of fun. We were all just like doing the most random things just to like move around to the music. It was really cool.
You had some good moves.
Did I? Oh, that's good. I can never tell. I'm always just jigging around, I
I feel
guess.
that. I'm
Yeah.
similar. I'm awkward sometimes, and I find that when I don't think about it, or I guess trying not to think about it is thinking about it. But like the more like
Mm.
as time goes on, like as I'm out, I start thinking about it less, and then start having more fun.
Yeah. I think that's what we were all kind of trying to do as well with some of like the goofy dances and the improv moves that we were doing, was to really kind of lighten the mood up, because it wasn't initially like a dance like thing. And so we just started doing that, and slowly more people started coming in and started dancing. So that was kind of fun, just to goof off a bit, just to show people like, hey, let's just dance, let's just move. Like it doesn't have to be a serious thing. So that was really fun. Yeah. I mean, how long have you been doing music production for?
Oh man, let's see. I want to say since when I was like 17, really. Like I've been a
Okay.
musician since I was like 10,
Oh
but
wow.
then like when high school, yeah, I played the clarinet of all things.
Oh, I used to play clarinet for like 3
Did
years.
you
My mom's
really?
like, "No, you're done."
Hey. Yeah, it was hard because I played in high school, and
Mhm.
my entire section, I was the only male, and which
Really?
is not a bad thing, but like I went to a ghetto high school, and
Mm.
playing clarinet, it's not a, you know, out there you got to protect yourself, and people saw me as this clarinet playing guy. Like it doesn't scream,
Yeah.
it doesn't scream the right things.
See, but what they don't know is that clarinets hold weight and that it's a great weapon if you ever need to use it. I'm just saying from what I
The
remember.
metal, the metal's heavy. Those registers, yeah, like the I still do you ever catch yourself I don't know like how deep into band culture you were, but like there are like if I was to pick up a clarinet right now, I literally when I did it, I'm like, "Oh, I feel like the shape of it." You know what I'm saying? Like the
Oh, like the muscle memory?
Yeah, I'm sure I couldn't
Oh,
even play like Twinkle Twinkle Little Star anymore, but like
yeah.
I just felt a twitch. I don't know. Did you like it?
Oh. I mean, I was in elementary school and I didn't
Oh,
really
yeah.
I didn't really practice a lot. I tried a lot of different things, but I was in choir really ever since like elementary school, middle school, high school. So like choir was more of my thing than band. I did try a few instruments, but at the time like instruments they were costly and my family didn't
Mm,
really have a lot of money to like, buy us instruments and things like that. So singing was a lot more affordable.
I feel that, and you have a
Yeah.
good voice, by the way. I don't know if people have had the privilege to hear you on your stream, but I think you have a good voice.
Oh, really? Oh, thank you. Oh,
Yeah,
I appreciate that. Yeah. I've heard it a few times. It's just, I don't know. I guess it's just getting accustomed to hearing my voice again, and then even just singing and retraining myself to sing properly is different. So yeah, that would be cool to like work on some stuff together because like I don't know, that's what music producers do, right?
yeah, that's what we do.
I mean, so for example, for people who actually really don't know a lot about music production, what does that consist of? Because you said you kind of started doing this when you were 17. So what did that mean for you as a 17-year-old?
Yeah, so at 17, it really didn't mean a whole lot. I had some friends that were rappers,
Yeah.
and they were like, "Hey, can you engineer us? Like, record them and then like do the sound engineering to get it to a nice recording." I didn't know what I was doing at 17, but like those were my homies, and we were just out there doing that. And so I would press record. I had a little mic, a USB mic, so meaning it connected directly to my computer. And um, I did that, and then we all stopped being friends. And then I never touched any of that software. I had like free software. 22 years old, I was with this girl, so I was with my high school sweetheart up until 22, and you know, then we broke up, and then it was hard because we were both together for so long, and you know, you're that young, right? Like, what do you really know about? I mean, shout out to all the people who find their soulmate at that age, but that's not what I was in, and I really lost sight. Like, I didn't even know who I was at that age, but I lost sight of what I wanted. And so, I came out of that and I was just kind of like in shell shock. And then I was depressed. And so I started finding my way back to music. I had like some free software. Um, and it's a software called Machine. It basically emulates a drum machine. So like with the squares, you like how Kanye or Jay Dilla would hit the squares, and it let me like have some kind of mental outlet, some kind of healthy outlet. All the beats that I made sucked at that time, and then it would be a few more years of trial and error, and putting it down and picking it right back up, and At some point in my mid 20s, it was like I was making beats with my friends, and I was, but like it was more like, okay, let's smoke a bunch of weed, let's drink, let's chill, let's, make beats. And we were, but it wasn't like how it is now. And now it's like at 27, I'm 30 now, but at 27, started actually making money off music and started like treating it more like, okay, I have certain hours in the day, what can I do? And like at that point I wasn't as efficient as I am now, but at that point it was like, okay, I'm here with this. Like there's no putting this down. Even if there is, like at some point my computer broke and I couldn't do any music, still my at the core of myself, I knew that no matter what job I'm doing, no matter where I'm at, no matter what condition I'm in, the end goal is going to be high quality music. And so now here I am at 30, making beats, helping mix songs, and just kind of being in this creative world and gigging and figuring out how to make high quality music.
Yeah. That's really cool. So then you were making beats, and then so when you're saying you're making beats, is it literally just like the beat that you're making, or is it more of like more in depth like song composition, or what exactly does that mean?
Good question. So yeah, all the lingo, it's all like thrown around. So when I say beat, I refer to anything that would go to a rapper or singer, and he or she would then lay down the vocals, the singing or rapping. So it wouldn't just be the drums that do carry the beat. It would be the drums, and then you were saying like the instrumentals, whether it's like piano or guitar. And so I play a little bit of piano. Mostly know the music theory and can go back in and backtrack. I don't play guitar, but that's why I collaborate with other people. I have a really good friend of mine. He's a guitarist in New Zealand, I think. Shout out Brent Beats. He's my boy, and he'll send me guitar loops, and it's great because like there's so many talented musicians everywhere you look, but collaboration is just the thing that makes the world go around. And my homie Brent Beats is so great because he like he we have this working relationship now where like he'll send me files and he'll label them, and he knows that I don't have perfect ears, so like sometimes I'm unsure of what notes I should play. He'll literally label on the sound file, these are the notes I use to make this, and it makes me
Mm.
like my workflow comes in and I'm able to put my sauce because he like prepared the dish.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, so how did you meet him? Was that like online or in person or at some other like workshop?
Yeah, he's one of the few. I shouldn't say few because I feel like in person is definitely much more better than meeting online. But he's one of the people that I've met online that I've never met in person. That we've had such a great like I consider him like a friend. Like I if I had all the money, I'd be out there. I'd fly to him. I'd say what's up. I don't.
One
But
day.
yeah, we met on one day. One day.
Yeah.
Uh, we met online. I think it was on Instagram. I think he liked the post, and then I liked the post, and then I just wrote him a paragraph on his like post about like how I loved his guitar and I wanted to work with him, and he responded, and then we just kept it casual back and forth, and then we had like a little partnership going on with like I was like paying him for like his work, and like we had this like arrangement, and it was great. And now he's kind of veered off doing his own thing. We were doing like a lot of emo like guitar sounding
Mm.
sadder beats, and he is now doing Suicide Boys, Ghost Main, real grunge, right? Real
Mm.
like horrorcore. And I'm kind of just
Horrorcore.
doing my lo-fi thing. Horrorcore, yeah.
Okay. And
That's
then
Brent.
and yeah, and you have the lo-fi. I really like lo-fi, and like that's really cool. Oh, what is a horrorcore though? Like what does that mean? Like or what would it sound like? You said it kind of is like emo-y, grungy. It like is in that realm of like kind of like darker
Yeah, it's
sounds or
like
something?
Yeah, it's like okay. The kind of place they would have artists that rap on the or rap or sing on those kind of beats. Imagine like, like let's say a dive venue, right? Like where you go in and it kind of smells the floor is just a little sticky. It's black, right? Mostly black, right? And you look around, everyone's wearing black, kind of, right?
Yeah.
Piercings everywhere. You're not going to find cocktails at this venue, right? You're going to find your
Mhm.
Lone Stars, right? It smells a little bit like cigarettes from the patio. And then in the venue itself, you just this bass, just you probably hear the bass from the parking lot, honestly.
Mhm.
And there's a mosh pit when people are performing these songs. Like it's
Nice.
it's rap, but it's like that. Yeah,
Oh man. Okay. Yeah. I've been to some places like that, so I know what you're talking about.
yeah. I've been to protect your ears, right? Like just
Yeah, seriously.
like
And so for you, you've gotten into lo-fi beats. So have you always done lo-fi or have you transitioned into different types of genres throughout your music production era or career, really?
thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't go in like wanting to do a specific. I guess I did. I did actually. I wanted to make stuff more. I don't know. I've always wanted to do like more of that new school, like that faster rap, like instead of like the old school rap, that boom bap, that Biggie, that Tupac, that stuff. I love that stuff, but that's just not. I don't feel that in my soul. Right? Like if I heard a Tupac song, like oh yeah, that's dope. But like sometimes I hear like a Lil Uzi. I don't know if you know who Lil Uzi Vert is. He's a rapper, he's a shorter guy.
If I hear the song, I'm much better at remembering the song, like actually hearing it and picking up the lyrics, the sounds, but the artist, I'm like, I don't know. I'm
That's
pretty bad
okay.
with
That's okay.
it.
No, no, it's all right. That just that new school, that faster rap is where I'm at. So I tried at different points. Like there's actually a whole marketing strategy or sales strategy behind beat making, like making type beats, which is like okay, I'm a producer and I want to make more money selling my beats. I look at some artists, right, that are popular, like Drake, for example, and I'll start making Drake type beats. And there's all kinds of videos on YouTube because some producers become really known in like the producer world or their brand because they'll do videos showing you how to make beats of a specific type. So you go in and you learn, or if there's no video, you listen and really start to dissect. Oh, okay, Drake's beats, because Drake has such a big catalog musically, right? That you can listen to, like, let's say his recent album had like 20 tracks. You could take all 20 tracks and start seeing, okay, like if you really deeply listened and like studied it for 2 3 hours, you could start to see patterns on the arrangement, how the bass is, like what is the lyrical composition, what is he typically talking about. Then you could make Drake type beats and sell them out. um, and a little bit of me wanted to do that, but I'm not good at that. I don't, and if I'm being honest, I don't think I'm so good that like I can really predict. I've tried to emulate and I can't. Like I've always come a little short, and that's because of my own biases. So now my big strategy is I'm gonna make, I'm gonna create consistently. I'm gonna put in my own sauce, and I'm gonna leave it up to people to perceive me and put their labels, and I'm going to ride that wave. And I never liked describing my music as lo-fi. But then so many people started saying, oh, you make lo-fi. I love your lo-fi. I was like, F it. I make lo-fi.
Yeah, sure. That's what you want to call it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, as you were describing that, I just started thinking about how, I mean, like a lot of people do this. And it's actually like an interesting tip for anybody who's trying to learn something new. It's like go and try to copy somebody else who's already like pretty advanced in the business, like or in their art or in whatever craft it is. It's like look towards the pros or look towards the individuals who really inspire you and try to learn their techniques and try to replicate it. And I keep thinking of a painter, for example. It's like, yeah, you try to replicate those different artists, like painting styles and techniques, and see if you can, um, yeah, replicate it to however you can. And then, yeah, and then you start adding your own like talent or your own like style, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, let's see. So with music production, so you're doing those beats. How is it that you're sharing it? I know that you're sharing some things on Instagram, but for music producers and other artists, what's actually the best way to share your creations with people?
So that's something I think about a lot. I release on a marketplace. It's called BeatStars. There are several marketplaces that are designed. They're designed specifically for beat makers, um, and I use BeatStars and have their page set up where I have my own domain. That's the primary way, and then Instagram, to let everyone know that what I'm putting out there. A lot of my business, a lot of like, how I'm reaching people just comes from like networking, building rapport, and then I'll send like specific beats for the people who are like I'm working the most with. I'm actually in the process of building my YouTube channel. I'm
Yeah.
becoming more active on YouTube, and it I wasn't always like, I don't want to do this. This is more work, but I went to a party a while back and everyone was just listening to YouTube music, watching the YouTube video visuals. And I was like, yeah, this is so much better. Like if Spotify was on this TV, well, first of all, the music I have on Spotify is original releases.
Mhm.
Like this is stuff that I'm releasing as an artist. Whereas the stuff on my site and the stuff on YouTube soon is going to be the beats that are actually for sale and stuff. But YouTube uh, at that party was so much more engaging than Spotify if it was on that TV and we were staring at the Spotify interface.
Yeah, I definitely see that happening. It's because people like visuals, especially, when it accentuates certain aspects of a song or music. You can kind of see certain things pulsing or vibrating, or I love that stuff. So I
Yeah.
definitely understand where you're coming from with that. I mean, do you plan to do more visuals, or is that kind of like another arena that you think you would have to like really divert more time to creating, are these visuals?
I think I'll do visuals for sure, but it won't be anything like I'm not gonna do the minimal, but I'm gonna do what I can and not let that prevent me from putting stuff out there. What I mean by that is I know that there are people whose visuals are way better than mine. Like I saw a channel the other day. I don't know. I can't remember the name. Otherwise, I'd shout them out. But there was this guy, and he made a beat, his own beat. And what he did was he put the lyrics. Like as I think he's a DJ, and I also think he's a videographer. So he's everything. So
Hmm.
he put his own beat, and he mixed in the vocals of ASAP Rocky, 21 Savage, and Playboy Cardi, and did like a mashup. So it's almost as if they were on his beat,
Hmm.
right? And it's like, oh, they made. I thought it was real, and I was looking at it, and I was like, hey, wait a minute. And not only did they, so there were three different songs mashed into this one beat. He took the video clips from those three different songs and made it into one big music video, and that piece of content had about 3,000 views. And I think it was a crazy good piece of content, but I am not going to beat myself up because I can't do all that. Like I'm going to put in my own flavor, put it out so it's not a blank screen. So I have like a screen recording setup, and I have some anime like editing that I know how to do. I'm going to put it out there, but I'm also just not going to, let perfection get in the way of putting out more stuff.
Mhm. And so when you are putting things out on YouTube or Instagram, are you ever worried about like the copyright or people just like, I don't know, copying, downloading your things and then reusing it for other things? Or
Yeah,
is that a
I that's
concern at all for artists?
it is actually. So for me, not so much. And I myself am getting better about the mistrust because all artists feel it. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to divert the question completely back to you, but like, do you feel that like, do you go through it at all, like with your stream endeavors or singing or?
Hmm. I think there was one point with this idea with curiosity and pursuing your passions and things like that whole concept and theme. I think I was a little like unsure about because some people would be like, "Oh, I was thinking about doing something like that too," and I'm like, "Don't copy my shit." But
Yeah.
like, that would really be the only thing. But at the end of the day, it wouldn't really matter because their experiences are different than mine and they're not going to be able
Facts.
to replicate the stories or the conversations that I'm having with people. So in that regard it was kind of like that. I mean, I do like little Instagram reel video things and I like to try to play with like the templates and the visuals and things like that, but I don't know, like I don't really I don't think I'm at a place where I feel like other people are going to copy me because I'm still in beginner mode and in experimentation mode where it doesn't feel like people are going to want to copy me. If that makes sense.
Yeah. No, I think that's a great place to be. And I diverted that question back to you because I feel like there's like a certain level of that paranoia, and I comes from a good. I mean, it comes from a very logical place, and I let that really hold me back for a long time because in music you hear about these stories about big artists who are really screwed by labels, and I feel like that trickles down into like the independent space where people are just either aloof or afraid, mistrusting of one another so much that I encounter artists that like don't even they're not even signed up for. I mean, nobody tells us any of this, but like they're not even signed up for like the nonprofits that protect artists that help them collect the royalty monies that they're earned, or they're aloof, like they gatekeep. Like I met someone a while back and I really liked their performance and I followed them on Instagram and I was like, hey bro, like I thought his content, what he put his the video that the editing he did was shit. And so like he put out a piece of content and I was going to recommend him a better software to use because I was like, oh, I know exactly what he's doing. But I asked him, hey, bro, what do you use for your software? And he responded to me like, hey, that's a secret. I keep that to myself. And I was like, all right, all
Mm,
right. But like, I get where it's coming from because when you're in music, the only thing you ever hear is bad stuff that's happened to people,
yeah.
and now you're thrown out into this big industry where everyone's competing for a slice of the pie and there's a big pie but it is going to certain individuals and executives and shareholders, and so there's this scarce mentality everywhere. And
Mm,
I think that is a large where a lot of that paranoia stems from. Like, of course anything could be copyrighted, but honestly everything's copyrighted. Everything is copied, I should say. Everything is copied on social media. Like,
yeah.
I'll literally see an influencer say something on LinkedIn or on Insta, like it'll pop up somebody who's like top of the field, right? And I'll literally see somebody that I follow in Instagram threads say word for word what this other influencer said. I feel like we're like recycling fortune cookies out here. Ugh, you know.
Yeah. I see that. I see that a lot too in different areas. Like what you were saying earlier with YouTube, there's a time where I was looking into it and I was like, "Oh, well, how do you make a channel? How do you like set things up, figure out the camera and this and that?" Clearly, I haven't figured out the camera because I'm still using my laptop camera. But like there's just I look at some of the videos and everything is the same in a way. Like everybody's trying to make it into like this production. And I understand because nowadays like YouTube is almost replacing regular TV, and this is what people are relying on, but it's just like that same theme of like, okay, everybody's got to have like this template and this intro, and they got to have a song and like all this stuff, which is great, but the thing is it's like I don't see too much like diversity or creativity in that. Like sometimes I'll watch a video and everybody has the same backlighting and this and that, and I'm like, dude, do you guys all live in the same place? Like like where are your actual homes? Like how can you play with your environment a little more and not necessarily copycat? But again, I guess that kind of goes back to the previous point of copy other people who are ahead of you in the game until you learn for yourself how to really put your style to it. But yeah, it's everywhere, it feels like. Yeah. So I don't know. How do you keep an original voice or style to your music? Like, do you find that you kind of build off of different things, or what's your creation process typically like?
That's a good question. I think for me, I don't know if this is true for everyone else, but it feels like it feels like a natural occurrence. But the longer you do this, I think you just develop your own nuances. Like, I guess if I was a painter and I did it for a decade, there would be natural ways that your technique, even if you use the same technique as another painter, you will naturally have different, way of doing that technique, like different nuances. And I think that that's applicable in music because I will make, like, I'll go through my process, which these days what it looks like is I wake up early and I do my morning routine and I try to dedicate 20 minutes of the day, if nothing else, just 20 minutes to creating and music. And right now I'm working on a live set. That's where I spend a lot of my creative time, those 20 minutes. And it's challenging because I feel like I'm learning how to drive again.
Hmm.
And but things like that, like, so just the longevity of it, the 8 years that I've been, making beats, I've developed my own little quirks. And I know, and I get validated on this when I collaborate with other producers. Like, I have producer friends and audio engineering friends that are way further in their careers, or they've done these things. And when we sit together and we work on a thing, I'll do something and I won't prompt it. I don't, like, honestly, when I collaborate with others, even if it's someone who's like much less experienced, sometimes I'm bashful. Like, I don't, I don't aim to like take up the whole space like that. So sometimes I can be shy, but when I'll do a technique and then someone will be like, "Oh, why did you do that?" I'm like, "Yeah, this is," and then they'll ask me why. And sometimes I won't even have a purely logical answer. Like,
Hmm.
an example is like, sometimes I will, like, if I have a clap that I really like, and most of my drum sounds, like, I every year or every few quarters I'll like recycle through them and I'll say, okay, do I like this one or do I want to use this one? So you'll hear a lot of the same percussion, but I'll do a layering technique where, like, I'll just, like, I have a salt shaker in my kitchen and I'll record the salt shaker and then I'll layer my hi-hats, so the drum, with that salt shaker. And I couldn't tell you why. I just do that.
Hmm.
And to my ears it sounds better. And then when I mix it in, it starts to really sound, um, I guess, like ominous music style.
Yeah. So what's typically like the creation process? So I know that you're doing that, but then are you typically inspired by a sound first? Or are you inspired by maybe lyrics or a word or like visuals, or like what exactly inspires you to create something new? Is it a particular starting point, or is it always kind of mixed up?
If it's by myself, I'll try to start with a sample, like preferably it'll be from another producer, a sample, or um, a MIDI, which is like a combination of notes, right? it's like instructions to the computer, and you can drag the MIDI file to your workstation, and it'll tell your software all the notes it should play. And then it's up to me to choose, okay, do I want to assign that to a piano or to a saxophone? So I'll either start with that, those instructions, or a pre-recorded, like my friend Brett's guitar. But a lot of times, 9 times out of 10, I won't finish with that. Like I'll listen to that and I'll be like, okay, I like that, and I'll change it up. Like I really want to like flip the sample on its head. So like I might, if this comp if what I'm sent is a 8 bar or 8 measure sample, I'll reverse it. If it's played right here at C4 on the piano, I'll take it down to C. I'll take it down to G sharp 2 or something, and I'll chop it up, meaning I'll slice it into individual parts. I might, if it sounds like it was recorded in a room, I might make it in a cathedral. I might change the spatial properties. So, it's here in the left and here in the right. I might mute certain sections to make room for the drums. And when I put the drums over and only have it playing on certain sections, then I'll come in on the piano and have a different instrument, like a trombone, playing on the parts where it's muted. So the goal will be like, yes, we're collaborating, but also like where I'm taking away so I can put my own thing. And since they're beats, I also have to keep in mind, and this is why I have Spotify releases, because some of the things I make are busy and they're too busy for a rap artist or a singer. Like when you make a beat, you make it and they tell us, they meaning the top influencers, that you are going to have a vocalist on this. You got to make space for them. You can't just be hitting a note every single second. Some of my original work does that, and I don't want an artist on it. It's like it speaks to my heart. I'm gonna put it out there. But so that's a little bit of the process. It starts with something. I've tried in the past to like, when I work with clients, like sometimes like if you were to hire me, and sometimes I have this where a rapper will pay me by the hour to be there with them, and then we have an agreement that anything they make, I'm going to take 50% of the publishing, the royalties, and in addition to that, they're charging me by the hour. And that's really the highest quality service I can offer, because then I'm in your world. Like you could literally be rapping and that's all I have to go off of. But based on you rapping and based on like, I try to mingle a little bit with the artists I work with, like getting to know where they're at. We chop it up, talk about what life and, everything in between. But having me in the room, I could really bring in my stuff, but also fulfill that vision. And so it looks like that in those two different ways.
Hmm. So how often is a song in, or really like how long is a song in draft mode before you guys are like, all right, this is great to publish, like we're good?
You mean like when I'm working with an artist, like a singer songwriter or rapper?
Yeah, well, and actually it could be for you too, whenever you're like, okay, this is good, like I'm done. Like what are typically the timelines for those?
So now it's a lot shorter now than it was back then, for myself, because I've had stuff. I'm actually starting to put out my solo project. My first track drops on June 7th.
Woo.
Shameless plug. um, but I've had like these songs sit in my hard drive forever, and I one of my one of my good friends passed away in January, and he's Maxwell Stacy. He's a artist out in Detroit. I met him in Austin. Really good guy. Um, and when he passed, so he had a whole work of art, like a body. He was probably one of the most talented artists I've ever met, and just really good guy, really good vibes. And he passed away, and like, you know, I would obviously much rather have had my friend here than like be here talking about his music. But it really like, oh snap, like, I could pass away at any time. This music could sit there, and not even thinking about like the potential money or like earnings and stuff, like just how many people could have been impacted by this in a positive way and will never hear it. And like, So to answer your question, now the timeline is much shorter. Now I'm better about, just releasing, putting it out there. But the timeline could really depend. And a common thing that could delay that is like, okay, let's say I have a song with two different artists. I made the beat, and both the artists are like, okay, yeah, we're going to do this, we're going to record. One of the art and I send it to them at the same time. Let's say one of them gets it to it super quick, and there, right? The other one takes 3 months for whatever reason,
Mm.
and then finally they give it back to me, and it's like, okay, great. And I hear both of the verses, right? And one of them sounds super good. It's like studio ready. The other one sounds like garbage. He or she should re-record, because you try in the post production to fix these errors. But and this is like golden nugget here. A mix engineer can only do so much
Mhm.
if the performance is bad. Like if you're at that mic and the mic is right here, and like, you could be doing the best performance in the world, but if the mic is not capturing it, then there's really nothing the engineer could do. So that kind of thing, those kind of silly things could really delay a project, but in theory it should be shorter.
Yeah. Yeah, and I want to go back and just like pass my condolences again to you and to your friends, family and friends. Like
Thank you.
that's really hard to lose somebody close, and I'm sorry that you had to go through that. But I do appreciate that you're still valuing his music and still sharing his name, because that's what helps his music and his name kind of live on a little more, is just by sharing that with other people. So I appreciate that you're doing that. And
Thank you.
yeah. And yeah, I mean, that's just that's touching on such a great point in general, is for us to really step away from fear, because I've been in that situation before where I'm like, I don't want to share my art or photography because I'm scared of it being judged or it not being perfect. And I heard something similar like a few years ago, where it's like the most selfish thing you could do is actually not share your art, because that could be a healing thing for somebody. Somebody can resonate with that and can inspire somebody with what it is
Mhm.
that you're creating, because even though it might not be perfect for you or seen as super complete, for somebody else that could be beyond perfect.
Mhm.
And so yeah, I resonate with that. I think a lot of artists may resonate with that, but it's a great reminder to just put it out there. Like people, they're just going to continue to move on. Like there's always reiterations of whatever it is that you're creating, you know
Yeah.
and yeah, and that's great that there's kind of that timeline too. It seems like you're pretty flexible with that, but that goes to show with like film, whenever they're filming something or even podcasting. Yeah, the microphone, the sound. I've gone through that as well, where I'm trying to like edit some of the audio that I have captured from some of my sessions, and then I'm hearing some of the guest audio, and I'm like, oh my god, I can't fix it. I can't fix the echo, or I can't fix the hissing, or it's too distorted. And so that does delay in publishing, unfortunately. So I definitely understand where you're coming from when it comes to like audio issues with folks. Yeah. What are some other issues that you encounter with artists or with other collaborators in general? It might not be like an artist, it could be a producer or whoever.
um I think, just the other thing would be like, and I'm guilty of it too, like maybe miscommunication, or oh, I'm guilty of this one. This is one that I'm I've identified as an area of improvement in my life. But the just biting off more than you can chew.
Hmm.
And like with my life now, I'm like kind of like, I talked about like when I was 27, I was making money off music and like treating it more like a business. Here at 30, I'm treating it as a business, and I'm the executive of the business. Like I'm like, I really like leaned into like, okay, David, like, unless you want to go and, I have a background in B2B, business to business sales,
Mhm.
and I've worked under good leaders and bad leaders, and I've worked for toxic work cultures and even more toxic work cultures.
Mm.
And so I'm just like, okay, like if I want to do this for a living, I got to start, putting on my suit and tie, figuratively, because there are a million places to be. There are a million things to do. Got to high prioritize the ones that are going to make money and build this business and build my relations. And so I bring that back to what I'm guilty of, and that I'm improving on, is that, okay, like so and so and I have like a working relationship, right? Like I'll have an artist or producer, and like they'll say, okay, we've agreed that we want to, be collabing. We both see it as a fruitful collaboration for both of us. But okay, what is the end goal? Like, if you're not paying me any money, uh, in the past, I would accept projects that were laborious and didn't give me any upfront money. And neither myself nor the other party had a large following, or really an understanding of where this product would be going. And so it would be like, I would then be the one anchoring us down, because I would have resentment on the fact that it was so much work that I agreed to. Like, I put myself in this position. I can't even be mad at the other person. It's me. I'm the one. They told me what the expectations were, where they wanted this to go, and I was like, yeah, yeah, that sounds great.
Okay.
And so uh,
Yeah.
that's one, and then just life coming up. And I think a lot of people go through this. I tell people all the time, never apologize for being late, or like, or not getting back to me, right? I feel like sometimes people will be like, hey, I read your message. And then they try to respond, because sometimes I come in a mile a minute. And that's another thing I'm trying to work on, like condensing it instead of like scaring people. But I feel like people will read a message and then they put their phone down and they forget to respond. And then a day or two will pass. And then they feel guilty for not responding. And then so they say, like, sorry, but then they don't do what they said they were going to do. And then it prolongs and prolongs. And then it's just like, um, I just think things like that. But, I'm getting better too at, like, one, not coming in too strong, and two, not being resentful if someone doesn't get back to me super fast. Like, I think I have the projects that are driving my business forward. I keep them top of mind. I have them written on sticky notes. So I know who are my top collaborators. I know who are the people that I want placements with this quarter. I know what libraries, like, I'm honestly doing much more music administration now these days. Like, I'm pitching to libraries, I'm like attending conferences. And so, like, I know what things are top of mind. And if I need to reach out to someone, I will. So that's been something that's like, you know, the big shift, and not having these things take 3 years for nothing.
Mhm. And so you're really acting as a bit of a project manager in that regard too, with like working on timelines, getting certain things like built out, and just having projections for when, you have your end product available. I mean, so you noted that you had a background in B2B, and it was a toxic and even more toxic background. Are B2Bs just toxic areas to work in?
I think, maybe honestly, most of the managers that I've worked under, they will probably tell you similar things that, I mean, I don't know, maybe not, because I've worked for a few that we just didn't see eye to eye. I'm hard to coach. Like, I'm gonna be real with you. Like, I produce results, and I'm compliant, but like at a certain point, I check out. Like, some of the companies, like the last company I worked for, I think I made them, and I don't think it's B2B. I think it's sales.
Hmm.
Because in sales, you really got to be a lifer about it, to really see the results and all the good things. And so, like, the last company I worked for, in 9 months of working for them, I made them $780,000
Nice.
of the software that I sold. It was an expensive software,
Yeah.
but this I for 2 months in a row I didn't hit the numbers they wanted me to, and boom, they just let me go. And not only did they let me go, they had a company retreat happening the next week. It was going to be at this 5-star resort, and it was
What?
going to be like,
Oh,
yeah,
I'd be so salty.
I was like, dude, like, and then
Oh,
they gave me 2 days. Like, they were like, okay, you could have your health insurance for 2 more days. I was like, oh wow, thanks.
wow.
So yeah,
And yeah, and that's hard because like yeah, people are going to go through those periods where yeah, you're high performing and this and that, but like you noted earlier, life can get in the way and people go through those slumps or maybe it's not necessarily the sales person, it could be the industry or the market itself is also struggling. I mean, there are
yeah,
companies that are constantly like putting budgets on hold until they evaluate how much they've spent as a company. And then maybe at the year end is when they're like, oh my gosh, we have so much money. Let's spend it on whatever. So I can
yeah.
only imagine how difficult sales must be, especially with certain types of products, depending on like what you were selling.
I will say though that I am very grateful for my the toxic work cultures, the even more toxic ones. I'm grateful for all of them because like it's in those environments that you really learn how to like voice, how to like really like I've been around so many shady people that like like I can read up on soft cues really well. Like the other day, like this part of a local organization, and they asked me to volunteer for something, and it was a really big ask. It was like we need you to drive here on like 6 a.m. on a Saturday. They let me know on Thursday, so they didn't give me too much of a time. And so like I was able to like respond in all the right ways. That was like, hey, I can't. But let me know for the next one. And I just did it in such a way where it was like short, concise, polite, and not, going out of my way to like offer myself for another time for such a ridiculous request. And so like those kind of things you pick up in sales because and like I'll be doing things out here where like I'm pitching to music people, like people that like manage a lot of money and work with big artists, and I'm not phased at all because I've literally been on sales calls where like people were cussing at me out of emotional response,
Mm.
and I just gotta like be chill with it. And then when I go home, that's when I'm like panicking and stuff, but they don't see that. So
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you do learn a lot about setting boundaries. It is. And then responding to that negativity at times because I can only imagine the kind of things that like you hear, especially when you're forced to constantly go back to the same clients over and over and pitch over and over like, "Hey, by the way, checking in again." And cuz
yeah,
I've had folks contact me in my career as well and they're trying to sell me certain things and I'm like, "Yeah, no, we don't have it like budget for it. We're not looking for it. Hey, thanks, thanks, thanks." And then it's like after a certain point, it's like, hey, like we're not interested. I'll reach out if there is, but I don't know. It is interesting because you do have to learn how to gracefully navigate that because you could burn a potential bridge and connections, and you have no idea how it could uh, like interlap in your life in some way. Yeah.
yeah.
And so, I mean, are artists typically easy to work with? I mean, when it comes to just starting the collaborations, like what's typically that process like? How do you know when somebody is good to collaborate with or not?
I don't think you ever really know. I mean, maybe
Okay.
you do. Maybe you do. Like sometimes, like I'm not gonna lie to you. Like sometimes I am nervous, especially because like I don't own a professional studio. So like, I'll meet people in person, preferably first, then social media, right, and then we'll build rapport, and eventually I'll travel to them most of the time because I have like I have my portable setup. I have a really good speaker, a really good mic. It's all in my backpack.
Oh,
Um,
awesome.
yeah, yeah, and it's been great because I love doing that, and I like bringing the vibes. I'll even bring like an LED lamp sometimes. Like it's all portable, and so like I'll bring vibes, but there's always like this fear in the back of my mind, like, oh, is someone gonna like rob me at gunpoint, like for my stuff? Like
Mm.
I get nervous, but I remind myself, like, yo, if somebody does that, they're losing out because I'm literally the kind of person that will change your life. Like I will this is my life. Like this is my purpose. You know what I mean? Like sales isn't my purpose. Like music's my purpose. And anybody I work with, I'm gonna put like these 10, 12. Ever since I was 10 years old, all my trauma that I healed from, the sobriety that I live, Like I'm present in every session. You want to talk about like your ex-girlfriend breaking your heart, I'm gonna be thinking about your ex-girlfriend into my music. So going back to, it's hard at first. It's in hip hop especially. Like I have some of my friends are in like folk or like jazz, and in those genres it seems like everyone's more friendly, right? But hip hop by nature stems from this urban culture, and even the clients that don't carry guns, like they, there's just a certain level of this rebellious nature, this like, it's me and my clique, me and my, I'm not with those people, I'm with these people. And so like it can be, even amongst the independent, even amongst the people with 100 streams only, like aloof, um, like not inclusive. And so it's challenging at first. And so one of the things I learned is that not to be like pitchy, not to like force my services. Hey, you should work with me. Like I just go out, I show support, I show love, I put the feelers out. Sometimes and you probably experienced this yourself. Like you talk to someone for 30 seconds and they're not feeling you. And like that's okay. I'm not going to force myself on nobody, but I told myself, and I hope that I'm at a good place with it now, that like I'm still going to, like, if I go to a show and I get like footage of all the artists on my camera, even if I didn't like talking to them in those 30 seconds, I'm still going to make my best effort to connect with them, get their email and socials, and send that over. Like the universe will reward me for like putting out those good vibes, because it has to start somewhere. The hip hop has such a culture of like us versus them. Like, sometimes showing that little bit of positivity can like really impact someone in a great way.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too. I'm just thinking about it now, but even with like hip hop and rap, a lot of it is talking about like the struggles and the kind of things that they're going through. And I I don't know how many people realize this or not, but like we're all going through similar things. And even within those like the hip hop rap culture, I mean, there's a lot of people that are struggling with the same kind of things, the same kind of traumas or yeah, like insecurities around their safety and violence in the culture and like a lot of that. And so it's sad because it's like there's a disconnect, like you were noting. There's a disconnect of like it's that survival mode where it's like, no, I can handle myself. Like I know what I'm doing and I don't need anybody to help me. And like they're more guarded because they have been hurt. Or for some individuals, maybe they're just taking on that persona because that's what they think they need to be like in order to fit into that genre. But yeah, man, I mean, I don't know. You were like talking about like your experiences and overcoming traumas and things like that, and I feel that like I've been working on that too. But I feel like the more that I start opening up about certain experiences with people, the more I hear, oh yeah, somebody else went through that, or somebody didn't even know about those things. They're like, I never knew that would happen or that people would do that and this and that. And it's like, yes, this is my reality. This is other people's reality that you have never been exposed to just because of like, your circumstances, because of who you are. But that is interesting. Like we do have to start from somewhere, and just listening to each other's stories, I think can really help.
Yeah.
And with music especially. But for you, when did you really realize, and how did you realize that music was your purpose?
Hmm. I think at the heart of myself being on my full drinking game, like I stopped drinking a little bit under 2 years ago. And then so a little bit before that, so maybe 4 years ago, maybe like 26, that was a rough time. I was just fucked up all the time, like all the time, all the time, all the time. And sometimes I was doing other stuff. And um, a lot of those nights, like I was so lonely and like I was so fueled by like one night stands and like just all the wrong, the short term fun stuff that long term means nothing. Um, and I would end a lot of my nights making music. I would just drink and then like just be in this state of disarray, and then I'd be in so much pain. You know, I'd be in so much pain, and I didn't know, like, you know, when I didn't have one pleasure, I'd want another pleasure, and a lot of the times the last place I'd end up was music. And then in other situations, so when I'd have a hangover and I just wasn't feeling good because I did all this the day before, I would just make music, and it's like it took away from me this part of myself that I it was hard to be around, this vileness, and I put it into my music. And it was around that time I was like, oh, I'm in this for the long run. Like, this is not a hobby. This is, I was already making some money off music at that time, but it was like, no, like, this is, you know, I have a lot of gifts, and you know, by the grace of God, I'm here, and you know, I'm building myself. But this right here, and then also just seeing, like, hearing the validation from other artists, like from other like people, they're like, oh, like, they would just randomly tell me, like, in person or online, but in person it hit more harder. But they would be like, yo dude, you're like, you're good. Like, people, I'd have some like hard dudes, like, just, you know, like, just blown away, like, you know, like, just these street dude, like, you know, people who don't open up, right? Men who don't open up. And I just have them say, yo, like, you're good. And I'd be like, oh, thank you, you know. Thank you.
Thanks.
You know, the voice up here is telling me no, but thank you, you know.
Yeah.
So
I mean, what do you think is a good I mean, music for you obviously was one, but from your perspective as a guy, what do you think are some ways that men who are just like really closed off can open up? Like, do you think music is like the best way, or do you think that there are other options for them to really start opening up?
man, I'd say one, join a find a support group for men. Like, I'm a part of one. I mean, this is not because I wanted to open up, but because at some point I recognized that my intimacy, like, I had I had heard from several previous partners that I was being toxic, and I was like, not me, because I don't say these things,
Yeah,
right? Like, how could
me
I
too.
possibly
Yeah.
how could I possibly be toxic, right? Like, I was raised in a women household. My dad was always working. You know, shout out to my dad. You know, made all this possible. You know, we have a good relationship, and but I was like, how can I possibly be toxic? But I was toxic. Like, I was like the very like gaslighting. You know, like, I just was, and so I recognized this pattern. I joined a men's support group. There are all kinds of support groups. You know, it doesn't matter if it's like a bunch of men who, like, you know, all like, I don't know, drug addiction, or like, you know, all men who just want to have a bro night and shoot the shit. For me, it was centered around intimacy. Like, I wanted to meet men who wanted to have more healthier relationships with, you know, their partners, and not be so, because, you know, men were just hardwired for, you know, all of the physical, and women too, but for men it's like, you know, sometimes you just think about it all the time. And so I wanted to have that healthy, you know, so I joined that and met other men. And like you were saying, like, when you talk about it, and like, oh, I'm going through the same thing as this 40-year-old, you know, husband, father of three, same thing as this 62-year-old, you know, grandfather, you know. And so it's like, okay, you know, like, we all have, we recognize. So that's one, right? But then the other thing is, I would say, joining a hobby that kind of takes the seriousness out of things a little bit. Like,
Mm.
as men, you know, we have these gifts where we can be physically strong, like, strong. It's like, sometimes I see, like, I play a lot of basketball, and like, I'll play, and like, there are like these 18-year-olds that are like my height, and they just jump so high. Like, I'm like, dude, what are you feeding these? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Growth hormones.
yeah, facts. Like, just strong. And but at the same time, it's like, it takes practice to be able to step away from this hard mentality, this strong, like, and just be a little bit less, you know, be a little lighthearted. For me, it was dancing. Like, I got into salsa dancing, and after like 2 years, like, I got really comfortable with it. You get comfortable with it much sooner, but it helped me, one, meet more like friends platonically. It helped me like if I go to a different city and like I don't know what to do, if they're having a Latin social, I'll be there. And like it grounds you in the moment and you're having fun. Like you're just moving around and you get better and better at it. You stop thinking about the steps, you stop being up in here, and you could really be present. And it's a great way to get a bunch of smiles in. And that energy is radiant. Like when you're smiling a lot, people around you are smiling, everyone's smiling. It's just great.
Yeah. Yeah, that's some great advice. Because it is like I've talked to some men and some men who are trying to help other men kind of like embrace more of that vulnerability within them, really connect to their emotions and to be like, yeah, well, it's okay, to like be a little open. And if you cry, it's like it's okay. It's not really gonna like harm you. But I guess like it also depends the environment that you're in, that circle you're in. I think a lot of people don't realize that as the if you're if your circle is just not really like making you feel good after like you're interacting with them or make you feel low or bad, like there's something there to investigate. So it is about finding those communities that are going to be more open. It is interesting to see that. I mean, with women, like we're going through our own struggles with like intimacy, and there are women that are going through like things with like intimacy or self-worth or um being so much in that masculine energy of like I don't want to say like hyper independence, but almost to that extent where it's like, yeah, there's a lot of women who are extremely independent and they don't necessarily need to rely on a man, or they were pushed to that point because of certain toxic relationships that they've had, where it's like now they can't really depend on a man to step in for
Yeah.
them. I've had this conversation with a few different people where there's just like this imbalance, and that's why it feels like a lot of people are kind of I don't almost disconnected or just imbalanced when it comes to really finding like partnerships and things like that, or connections within themselves. So that is interesting. I mean, do you think a lot of people go through periods like that primarily in their 20s, or even through the groups that you've been through? Do you think that sometimes it really does kick in after you're 40 or later in your life because maybe they have put it off? Or what's been your observations with these groups? Is it primarily younger folks or primarily older, or is it really a mix?
Going through the struggle to or
Oh, I guess going back to your point about like the meetup that you went to, that like support group for
oh, I
men
see.
opening up and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of all around the board. I feel like there at least the group that I was in was a fair number of like men in their 30s, but honestly, it goes all the way like younger. Like
Oh,
there's
really?
a member of the group who's 17, and
Oh, wow.
so and really, the core one of the core roots of this group is actually on pornography itself. Like it's sexual intimacy and like positive, right? But everyone in this group, including myself, recognize that at some point in our lives, like pornography addiction, which is, it's something I don't really talk. This is my first time talking about it on a camera, but like, it's something that like a lot of men start young, right? And I started, viewing the screens and stuff when I was like 12. And I didn't even know what it was, but
Mhm.
you just and it becomes a stress reliever, and it's like harmless at first you think, because it's just fake. I'm not hurting anyone. I'm just watching this thing, right? And these are consenting adults doing a thing. But as I grew older, I was like, you know, the sciences and stuff are still fairly new, but actually, it's a vile industry. A lot of the people who go into it are suckered into it. They have all kinds of mental health issues, or they're low financial. They have not a lot of options. A lot of the women were abused when they were younger, and they gravitated towards this kind of thing. That's on the industry side, but on the brain side, when you use pornography, your dopamine levels just get all messed up. It's an unnatural pleasure. It's an unnatural sexual activity. Humans back then didn't have stimulus like that. They made it for purpose of reproduction. And now we're in this time and age where you can have all these fantasies, all this stimulation, and it actually pushes you further away from what most of us want, which is actual, like when I am engaged sexually with someone, it's nothing like pornography. Like pornography just focuses on these visual and the parts, and like
See. Um,
I think I was going on a rant about why pornography is bad.
yeah. So I know you were noting that a lot of it was giving you like toxic dopamine, and then whenever there was intimacy with a partner, like what you saw within pornography was not what you experienced in real life. And so it feels like there's almost that disconnect of reality of like what should be expected in real life versus like in a movie or in a clip, whatever you find, I guess. But do you think that that affects a lot of men into thinking that that's really what
Yeah.
it's like?
I mean, it affects it affects us in a let's see, what was I saying? Actual intimacy is like completely different. And I think that yeah, it definitely affects a lot of men. Like I've actually met someone just recently, and we talked about it, and I kind of knew that because we talked briefly, we'd met in some similar circles, and I remember when we connected, he gave me his Instagram, and he told me to type in my stuff in his Instagram, and when I went to his FY the for you page, his page, I just
Oh,
like it
yeah.
might as well have been Pornhub. Like it was like yeah, like just a
Really?
lot of women. And so I saw it for a split second, right? And I'm super stalker observant. Like it's a gift and a curse. Like I'll see people and like I'll tell my
Yeah.
friend like, "Hey, that's a nice caramel latte," and then she'll be like, "What? Like, how did you know? Like, this is weird. Don't ask me that." And then so I saw that for a split second, and then I'm like, okay, like my guy like looks up these kind of things. And so like, but I didn't say nothing. Like I'm not gonna embarrass nobody or call someone out. Like it took time for mine to look like cats and anime pictures, but so I wouldn't judge nobody.
Love it.
um but I eventually we started talking, and then he talked about that he was in a group and that he's like going through recovery. And then immediately I put two and two together, and I was like, hey bro, can I just ask you, like, don't be offended, but like, are you going through this kind of like addiction? And then he was like, yeah, how did you know? And I was like, I go through it too. And like we embrace, he asked me if, like, we shared a hug and shared a moment, and I was like, dude, like, I've been on my journey, and I say journey, and not just with pornography, but like what's the like we all have journey, like our paths in life and stuff. Like I have a journey with sobriety, like like I stopped drinking alcohol, but it took me a moment to get my cannabis under check, because when I stopped drinking, I was living in Canada, and in Canada everyone's super lax about weed. So I was like, yeah, I'm getting better, but meanwhile I was like taking three blunts to the face, just zoning out. So yeah.
Yo, you
So
light this up. Yeah.
but so pornography though, like it's crazy because it's such a slippery slope. Like it's the way it's created, the way it is, it's not meant to like, you don't ever nobody goes into pornography use to do it casually. Like it just can't. Your body gets, like, just like any other artificial pleasure, your body gets used to it and wants more, and it wants more extreme and more unrealistic. And we intrinsically know all this is bad. Like I would catch myself in the past watching some of this stuff, feeling disgust, but still watching it, and still, and it begs the question, why would anyone go through such a cycle? Well, it's similar with users of like meth. Why would they do it, right? It must be good. But I think it's one of the biggest things, that one of the biggest problems that men face everywhere. And there are so many benefits to not, I'm not saying, don't masturbate ever. And I'm not saying, you know, become a complete saint, because it's we're human and we have impulses, and you know. But what I'm saying is that the less we do that, right? And some people get into this habit of counting the days and stuff, and I do too, to a degree, but like I don't want to live my life as, I'm David Chavetta and I'm 95 days, I don't like counting like that. But the less a man uses pornography, the better his life will be in every single category. It'll make him a better father, a better husband, a better partner, a better son, a better just person in this world, because you're present, and you're not objectifying women. You're not filled with all these delusions about, sexual intimacy, and you're not supporting an industry that literally traffics a lot of the people create the women creating this content.
Yeah. Yeah, that is hard. I mean, there's ways that people get it. I mean, social media, that's even like the simplest form of addiction that a lot of people are really sucked into and they don't really realize it. Or sometimes binging on TV. I just want to provide these examples for our listeners to realize like these are just categories of things that you can get addicted to. But in the everyday realm, it's like you can get addicted to coffee. If you're having more than two, three, 4 cups of coffee in a day, that is in the realm of like addiction. The same thing with sugar, the same thing with junk food. Like our brains are almost programmed for that kind of like behaviors as taking on that addiction because they like the dopamine hit. That's why they continue to do it. But it is about taking a step back. And like you're saying, as soon as you start realizing, like, I have this addictive behavior towards my cell phone or towards porn or towards certain foods or towards certain people or activities, like you start to break out of that and you can retrain yourself and reconfigure your reality, and you can start using that energy in other ways that really can benefit you. um I feel like I've gone through a lot of random things like that too, and as soon as I start like getting out of that, it's like, okay, wow, like I'm starting to eat better, I'm not drinking as much, or I'm not like smoking or doing this or that. Like it really does clean you up and it puts you in a better
Yeah.
position in life, and you're a lot healthier both mentally and physically. And that's that's one of the things
No, please
I'm,
do.
I'm going off on like a little tangent here, but like wellness incorporates so many different aspects of our lives. And a lot of people think, oh, I just need to eat well and exercise and I don't know, have a good job, and then consider that like full wellness. And in reality, those are just like little slices of the pie. And they don't realize that understanding your body and understanding your mind and really being able to heal those things and get to know them, like that's also part of wellness. Like sexual health is wellness because we are here to reproduce in a way, but like we're also here to experience pleasure and to experience intimacy, and there are amazing ways to go and have sex with an individual, and like you can experience those like I don't like different levels of like pleasure that people would never even think of. There's like tantra, that's a thing that like is still kind of hidden in a lot of ways, but it really does like involve not just
Mm,
your body but your mind. And so it is really interesting. Like there's still so many things that I find that we are still learning as humans on how to like get better on, and how to connect with things. And it's really interesting how that like sexual health is
yeah.
still so stigmatized.
One of No, sorry, you go, you
I
go, you
mean,
go,
do
you
you
go.
oh, go ahead. Well, I mean, I was gonna say, do you ever find women that are struggling with that? Or
I
do you think it's
mm,
primarily men?
if I've come across them, they haven't told me. They haven't like been open about it. Like not. I guess I I haven't really met women who like struggle with pornography, but I have met women who like have been really open to me about like, hey, I've slept with this many people, and I'm like, oh, okay, like I'm not here to judge. I mean, and they'll say things, or I have friends that'll be literally like, yeah, there was a period of my life where I had six guys on rotation, and like I just that's just I wanted that rush. I wanted, and so I think in that sense, and I know there are women who like consume pornography and like will I also had conversations with women that'll say things that like they're at the point, or they were at a point, maybe they still are, I don't know, but where they prefer the toys and the self pleasure over having a man. I mean, they're heterosexual women, right? But they prefer the toys because the pleasure is always like they know the toy, and like they can create this sensation that being with a man can't. And that kind of makes me sad for both sides, not like sad for them, but like it's sad to think that like the experiences they've had with those men didn't result in that that bond, as it the bond that it's they were capable of experiencing, are like, as genders were so like not moving towards the bond, that there exists now this new phenomenon where women are like, oh, like I have this toy, I have this novel, like I have this audiobook, I'm good. And then so
Yeah. Yeah, I got my audiobook in and, like, what is it? It's like some type of, like, dude is going off to rescue whatever, or like 50 Shades
right.
of Grey, or yeah. I totally have, yeah, from the female's perspective, that's totally a thing, because women have gone through these experiences where it's like the
Mm,
expectation is always for the man. You have to please the man. The man always has to finish. The man always has to experience the pleasure. The man, it's always like focused on the man. And for some women, obviously, like that's a mix. Not every single man is like that, and they do want to please their partner, please the woman, and focus on them and get to know them and their body and what they're into. But there has been like a lot of women who are just like, yeah, I've never experienced an orgasm before with my partner. I don't even know what that's like, and this and that, because everything has always been so one-sided. And so for some women who are getting out of relationships with partners who didn't focus on the women's pleasure or getting to know their body, or just at least balancing the scale, it's like, yeah, they're just like, why would I be with a man who is pretty much not even going to really consider me or my body or how I feel, or provide that connection and intimacy that I want? Why am I
yeah.
going to try to do all this work for him when he's not going to do anything for me? And so, yeah, hanging out with a toy is so much easier than having to deal with, all right, well, now I got
Yeah.
to do all this and like, show up and got to clean up and do this and then still take care of him and blah, 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 blah. It's yeah, it's a thing for women. And I know women that are like going through that, and they are just like, "You know what? I'm fine. I don't need a guy. Like I'm good. I do my thing. I can go to bed right after, or I could just go and do whatever I need to do, and I don't have to worry about babysitting, or trying to show up in some type of way that
Yeah.
sometimes they didn't feel comfortable, So that's tricky. Yeah. The intimacy thing is like, feels like an issue in a
Yeah.
lot of ways
Yeah, it
now.
definitely is. And you know uh yeah, it's a heavy topic.
No, I know. I mean, that's okay.
I'm
Like, I mean,
super
if
cool.
you're comfortable with that, because like I'm I'm
Yeah.
I'm all about talking about this stuff. Like, I'm always like, all right, let's get into the deep stuff. Let's get into the real nitty gritty about life and talk about the shit that people don't really
No,
want to
I'm
talk
for it.
about.
I like talking about it. I in the past a mile a minute with everyone, but then I've toned it down. I've kind of read the room, but so I appreciate the space that we have here to talk about the deep shit. So
Yeah, no, of course. And I appreciate you opening up about your experiences as well, because, you know, I feel like I say this a lot in my episodes, but it's like we're not alone. Like we all struggle through some type of issue, and it might not be exactly the same issue, but maybe it's like parallel to it. And there's still so many things that we can learn and enlighten each other on these issues, and just be aware like, hey, yeah, there are people experiencing intimacy issues within their relationships, within their marriages. This is why cheating happens, or you know, yeah, it's like it's uh it's crazy. It's like we really need to start focusing on that so that more relationships end up being healthy and being long term versus being set in divorce, or people like cheating on each other and making
Yeah,
that
a lot of open
okay.
relationship stuff has been
Um,
floating around, and yeah, like uh, you know, I've met one or two people that'll just be like, "Oh, hey, by the way, I have a husband, but it's cool." And I'm like, I don't know, I don't know about that.
I don't know. Really? Okay. That's interesting. So do you think more people are actually
I,
open to it, or
if they're open to it, maybe because they also want to be open and explore. But like, yeah, yeah, I feel like in certain cities where it's less conservative in terms of dating, like for example, a city like San Antonio, maybe not because it's definitely more old world thinking. But like cities like Portland, like Vancouver, Austin, like it's very yeah, it's
Austin?
definitely, I've noticed it more, and not just in my own experiences, but also with like, just talking to people. So yeah, I just think that everyone's much more casual, and I feel like a lot of us go through a phase where casual is, you're exploring or whatever. But at least for myself, like I've gotten to a point where I'm like, oh, like actually, like I'll have days where like it'll just be working, 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 and like being on, right? And then my night ends, and I'm like, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world to like go home, and then maybe I'm the one cooking dinner for my partner, and then like maybe she has had her whole day, right? And like maybe I'm tired, but I would love to just like do an act of service for somebody, and then end the night like laying down together, watching some dumb thing or whatever, and then going to bed. Like, that's very different from how I end my night now. And I'm not complaining, but I'm just saying like, oh, like, maybe we are only meant for one person or some kind of arrange, but then again, I'm only 30, I'm not 60. I haven't gone through that part of my life yet. I'll probably have a different opinion at 50.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think the open relationship, I don't know if it's like a trend. I was going to say the open relationship trend, but I don't really know if it's a trend or really like lifestyle. But like, do you think that that's helping with intimacy with people, or helping to heal individuals
Hmm.
with intimacy or their
i
relationships?
I don't know, it's hard. Like honestly, I might have to recommend someone to you, to speak. I have one friend who has a positive,
Mm,
polygamous relationship, where he has a spouse, like he's married, but also has another partner, another a girlfriend, and they all get along and they make it work, and it's they're all lovely people. I met all of them,
mm,
but he's the only one, and that I know that's a like I know that it's an unfair like sample. I mean, I'm not a statistics guy, but it feels like it's a unique case, and maybe I have amongst my network people who have situations like that, but they're not forthcoming. But by and large, I don't meet individuals. I haven't met many who have arrangements like that, and so he's the only one I have to go off of. So it seems to be positive, and it works well for all of them. Um, the people, the women that I've encountered who've been in open relationships and want to have something with me, none of them were especially great. In fact, this was a few years back, but I encountered someone who was very upfront with me about, hey, I'm very attracted to you. I would like to go out on a few dates. Like, she had been upfront. Well, it was kind of a thing where I wasn't sure if it was a date. We met at a class, and we met at a dance class, and we went out, and then after a little while, we were out, dancing. And by the way, when I meet anyone in dancing, I'm platonic. Like, I don't dance to, like,
Mhm.
have this, sexual or intimate end game. Like, for me, dancing is like a sacred space where I can have fun and be respectful with everyone. In fact, I've had former partners and former girlfriends be like, "Oh, I would love to dance where you're dancing," and I'm like, "No, this is my space to be me. Like, go somewhere else, please." Like, um, but so I met this person, and we go out, and finally she's like, it's very intimate. Like, like, we're not holding or touching or anything, but like, sometimes, like, it's instinctual. We can see when two people are, like, on a wavelength, on a chemistry, and we were on a chemistry. But then, like, she told me, like, like, she's like, it's building and building and building, but I'm not sure, like, because it just, we haven't, we're hanging out and stuff. And so she's finally like, hey, I have a husband. I want to be in an open relationship. I want to have an open friendship with you, but I only want the physical. I don't want to, and I know that that's probably an anomaly, because in my experience, women are not direct like that, and like that, right? And at least not what I've experienced. But I was, open to it for a little bit, but then I told her, the one thing I don't like about that is that, I'm not, like, jealous, or, like, I mean, I guess we all are for the right person, but what's big for me is communication. Like, I'm not an all day, all night kind of texter, right? My friends will tell you this, but I do expect some level of, like, if I text you on Monday and we make plans to go out on Thursday, but I don't hear back from you till Sunday after the date, you know what I'm saying? You couldn't even make the time to tell me no.
Mm,
Like, it just rubs me wrong. Like, we're all the main characters in our lives. I don't want to feel like, I don't want to be competing for attention and, like, deal with flakiness. So, all right, it's a big rant there. So, what I'm trying to say is, I don't see how it can work, because people desire communication, people desire routine, whether we want to fight it or not. And so, like, I don't see how it's sustainable long term, like, having these, like, open relationship interactions. Like, how you got to have a really dynamic partner, I guess.
mm. Yeah, it is interesting because I mean, even tying it back into music, like a lot of different styles of music, there's that like subtle point of being like, oh yeah, I have multiple men or multiple women and I'm a player and this and that and I got people on rotation and it's like also ingrained in that kind of culture and I mean, kind of going back to that pornography
Mm.
point, it's almost distorting that perception of how you should build relationships with people and even communicate in a way. And it just, it's really interesting because now it's a matter of, and I've done this before too with like music, like, yeah, like a music cleansing. When I was going through my own healing journey, I started really paying attention to the lyrics of the songs that I was listening to. I would
Yeah.
hear a lot of toxic shit. And I was like, do I really support that? Like, would I really want like my man to treat me like that and to refer to me like that? Like, fuck no. So why am I listening to this and why am I accepting that within my brain? Because overall, like if you're listening to something over and over and over and the underlying message is the same of like, oh, yeah, devalue women or it's okay to cheat and it's okay to do this and blah blah blah, and like
Yeah.
that's really going to mess with your psyche. And so yeah, I wonder even how much like music is really affecting our relationships and our perceptions and how it is that we communicate with others. um it's really interesting. Like I don't know if that's something that would change. Like, do you think that that's a movement that could potentially happen where people really start changing the way that they talk about like relationships or intimacy with people? Or is it just going to be like, fuck bitches, get
Right.
money for a long time?
Yeah. Man, I I don't. If the change is going to happen, it's going to be a gradual, slow one. What you do see more of now, though, is like more. I know it existed back then, but I feel like there's more of it now. You'll see like 3D, I guess you can say. Like you'll have an artist, like a good example would be J. Cole. J. Cole is like super great. Like his message is like if you took all of his songs together and like there was a way to put it in a like a, a bowl and like someone determines like like you watch Harry Potter, all right, like the hat, right?
Yeah.
And you put it on and it's like determines your
Yeah.
house. If there was a way to put a hat on and like determine if an artist's message was positive or negative, J. Cole's would be positive. Like it's conscious rap. He, comes from like I think North Carolina or like somewhere in the South, and so he has these songs where he's like bitches and this and that and right. But then he has songs about like talking about like how um how he feels like like the person or he's portraying or the persona is like on tour with these girls feeling such guilt or like talking about like how he found someone. There's a song I like called Folding Clothes. He's like, I want to fold clothes for you.
Hmm.
Like he's like literally talking about this girl, like
Oh, yeah.
and so I think you'll see more of the 3D artists kind of like it has the bad boy side but also like this other side, this vulnerability. But I think that shift as a whole is going to be a slow one because even myself as a consumer, like, I'm positive and mild mannered. My favorite band right now is Suicide Boys. So, yeah,
So
they're
why
great.
are they your
Like,
favorite
just,
band?
degenerate, fast paced rap music. Like, there are some of the songs that'll like kind of take me back to my substance abuse and not in a traumatic way either. Like I'll feel like some of the sensations of like wanting to get lit. And it'll be like kind of a,
Mm,
it's for me right now, it's kind of a healthy and it seems like, I don't advocate for everything an artist does. Like I don't fall in love with any artist because they're all human. Same thing with any celebrity or any athlete, any leader, any CEO. But um, they're like for me the impulse to like smoke or do like the kind of things I was doing, it only lives in my act of listening to music now. Like I mean I'll still occasionally smoke, but
mm,
like that's it. Like you won't catch me doing any of the other stuff. And so for me, like listening to their music kind of lets me embody some of that aggression and like that those desires to do those things, but in a really healthy way because I'm only listening, I'm only dancing a little bit. I might throw a middle finger here or there when I'm hearing it. That's it. So that's and then of course I'm like a big
yeah.
sucker for like really good production, and so like the one of the members of the group, they're both rappers, but one of the rappers is a producer, and so like I'll like nerd out hearing a lot of the beats and I'll be like, oh, like, so I'll just nerd out a little.
Mm, nice. So well, actually, who do you think are some of the most influential music producers that you've
Ooh,
discovered along your journey?
oh, this is, I don't think anyone's asked me this. This is dope. Yeah, I don't think, yeah, this is a
Really?
really good
Oh
question.
man.
Let's see. So in I think 2012, 2013, like Drake had just gotten discovered and everything. Like there was this point where rap used to be like slower, hard hitting, right? And then after Drake, things got faster, things got mumbly. One of the producers that really like ignited that was Metro Boomin. Um, so like he's one of them. Although his style is more street, more Atlanta, more like Future, like um, 21 Savage, those guys, and that's not really where I live. But he's one of the guys that started all that. There's a producer by the name of Clams Casino that I draw a lot of inspiration from. He it's kind of like if you know, you know, kind of thing. Like he's like really under the radar, but if you heard one of his beats, they're all on Spotify and YouTube. You just hear it and you're like, "Yo, how did you do that?" Like his textures, like the
Hmm.
percussion is very simple, nothing elaborate, but like the textures, like the they're just so distorted, and it sounds more like tones that you would like, like brown noise mixed with like some alpha waves, right? And but still has that
Hmm.
heavy bass and that kick that's signature to hip hop. And you're like, wow, how did they do this? And so he was like gobbled up by Sony. They just came in and said, okay, we're signing you. Like um, those two guys. And then I also draw inspiration from some, let's see producers, like even though it doesn't show up in my music, uh I listen to a lot of like top 40, like Major Lazer, like Diplo. It doesn't show up in my music, but
Hmm.
just like hearing those tones, like the instrumentation, the bells, like um lean on, like I'm not gonna sing it, but that real popular. Yeah, I'm
Are you
good, I'm
sure
good.
you don't want to?
No, no.
I'd love a sample.
Lean On was like my top listened to song in like 2017, 2018. So um yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Are there a lot of female producers? It feels like every time I hear about producers, it's always guys. Like, is
It's
there
a
a
male
reason for
dominated
that, you think?
industry.
Or is it like,
Women are working to change that, right?
yeah.
But slow change, like all, I mean, it seems to be a struggle that women face in a lot of industries. And there's probably a multitude of reasons, but I'm sure that the same reasons that women struggle in certain industries, or it's just kind of like the same old, right? Like a woman um, adapting in a male field, and like in what I've heard from some of my friends that are like women in the industry is like collaboration gets really sleazy. Like I have like
Yeah.
I have a friend on the East Coast and she's super talented, and she'll be like, "Hey yo, like, and she'll be like, I thought I had a good thing working with this label or working with these guys, but then they came out and they were like, if you do this for me, and I feel for her, but at the same, I'm not justifying what those men like were insinuating, but she's out there like on the other side of the thing using her beauty and stuff to really, she has a lot of followers. She has like, in the 50,000s, and like for a while she was doing an OnlyFans, and I'm like, I'm not saying any of this justifies sleaziness or like, cuz I don't condone any of that, but it's like playing, the benefit and the not. And so like I don't I don't know. I know that's her case specifically, but other women who don't do that stuff, they still experience it too. Like, and it is a male dominated field. And I'll see like women who post stuff like really talented, and like if you open the comments, you'll just see all these guy producers send beats. Let's work together. I love you. Like everything, and I'm just like, ah.
Yeah. I actually met a, well, I guess she's kind of put like the music producer thing on hold, but she was into music production at one point in her career, and I met her in Portugal actually, and
Nice.
she was my Airbnb host. She was awesome. But she did actually talk about this. is that, she would go into meetings very professionally dressed, and she'd be like, in meeting men, and they'd be like, "Oh, nice to meet you," or "It's a pleasure to meet you." And they would be like, "Oh, it's nice to meet you. The pleasure comes after." And like just saying like random things like that in a business meeting. And she said like she's just gotten up and she's just walked out of the door because why would you say that in a business meeting? And what would it matter if it's a woman saying those things? Like, I know if I were to do that in my industry, like, or no, if that were to happen to me in my industry,
Yeah.
like, they would be done. Like, we would call them out on their stuff. But, like, I mean, even within my own industry, there's been some, like, uh, some questionable men, uh, yeah, who have, like, yeah, crossed
Mm.
boundaries and lines with people, and that's been reported, and luckily, like, we were able to kinda, like, push these individuals out. But with an industry like that, like, it is really hard because, I guess this might be a biased point, but if a lot of the music that's being produced that is really dehumanizing or belittling women, where it's like, oh yeah, like fuck bitches, I'm gonna have like this and that, this many women and blah 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 blah. And the primary producers of this kind of music are males, like there is an imbalance because the female voice is not able to produce music that would counter those kinds of messages. Um,
Right.
from my general observation here. So it is an issue in that regard. It's just like, yeah, we need more female producers, but like I don't know, like there needs to be maybe a little more accountability within the producer realm for the men to start standing up to maybe some of the kind of messages or some of the behaviors that are happening. Because at some point, you know what? Women are just going to go do their own thing, and they're going to be like, well, fuck you guys. We're just going to go and create our own thing. And we are going to compete against you. And that's going to be like a whole different realm. It's going to be really interesting to see. But I know you're a male
No,
producer.
no,
I'm not
no,
trying to
of
like
course not.
say that that's what you're doing, but like, this is kind of like my perception of what I'm seeing is if it's predominantly males that are producing music and a lot of it isn't necessarily valuing women, then how is it that we can expect the male listeners to really learn any different, you know, or to act any
That is
differently.
a very valid point. I didn't think of it in those terms, but yeah, you're absolutely right. I guess that's something too. Like I could see that like being something that's occurred in like other industries outside of music and something that needs to change from within. I know that in the like I'm going to a lot of music conferences these days, like the admin stuff, the business stuff, and I'll see all types of like female founders doing things to have for more initiatives, for more opportunities for women within the space. I haven't seen much on the producer side. Um, yeah, so there's definitely honestly I haven't seen a lot of innovation on the producer side that has been like anything beyond copyright stuff. But that is something. So I'm gonna keep this idea in my head, and I'll see when I have more pool. I'll see what I could do.
Yeah, you could be the change. And just like put you on the spot, like you
It's all
you can
right.
do
Big
this.
challenges. We rise up.
I know, right? Yeah. No, I mean, and that's like just this whole other realm. But I mean, yeah, like getting into music production, I've looked into it, and it is like a very creative and techy thing as well. Like, do you think like there are certain personality types that typically are driven towards
That's a
music
good
production
question.
as well?
Yeah. I mean, definitely. Like, so I was a gamer when I was like younger. And I was also really overweight too. I'm not anymore, but so when I was younger, I played video games like a lot, and it was a problem. And then I stopped when I was in high school, and I got into sports and stuff. And music production was kind of cool because it does feel like a video game. Like now I have like a controller, and it feels a little bit more like an instrument kind of thing, but um, the software, the colors, like, just the macros, meaning like you could really like nerd out. Like, this is like, let's say you have like a vocal strip, right? Like the digital software, like just making the decision on like, okay, when I approach mixing the vocal, I have this one effect. I have effect A, B, and C, right? The way you assemble them, like meaning A coming before B or C coming before A, they have different effects on the sound itself. And sometimes they're minuscule. So you really got to pay
Mm.
attention and practice with your ears and look at the meters and all that stuff. And it's like, wow, there's all these combinations. And then like the big question in the producer community or like whatever, like engineers, they'd be like, yo, what kind of DAW, digital audio workstation, what kind of software do you use? And like, you could really be like, oh, I use Ableton. That's like my main one. And even amongst the Ableton users, they'll be like, yo, what kind of like, do you like, there are like 5 different ways to do one thing. And so you can like really nerd out about one single thing. And it's so I guess like the gamers for sure, people with ADHD for sure. Yeah, those types.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that is really cool. I mean, and so for anybody who's interested in getting into music production, are there any types of tips or programs or software or books or videos that you would recommend them
Yeah.
to look into?
Boy, if I had a course right now, I would totally plug it in, but I don't. So um, if you have an iPhone or a Mac, get GarageBand. They're free on the iPhone, free on the iPad, I think, and like $2 or $3 on the Mac. So like
Mhm.
really chill way to start. And like if you don't know what you're doing, the interface makes it really easy to just kind of do your thing. Um, if you don't have those, I know that cheaper options are free. Fruity Loop Studio has a free version for Windows. Those are like some, and but
Mm.
even if you don't want to like dive deep into like a software, like honestly there are cool apps on your phone. Like there's this one called Chordify, and it's like if you're a music theory guy, this is more for you, but like you could literally pick, like you can set a tempo, right? So like a speed of the song, and then you could start selecting the chord progression you want for that song. And that's like a cool way to build. I use that to build up my songwriting ability. There's also, you could just type in music production on apps. And I say that because there was a time I didn't have my computer, and that's how I really went about like keeping up with the skill.
Mm.
Getting your digital audio workstation on a computer is like the baseline. That's like, in the past, if you wanted to do music production like 50 years ago, you would need to be in a studio, right? But now the digital audio workstation has everything you need. You could look up YouTube videos. And I would honestly say, just to like, don't go into it thinking like, I'm gonna follow the money, so I'm gonna make what everyone else is making, because everything's so saturated that if you were to start today trying to sound like someone else, one, you're gonna be miserable, because like I'm doing it now. I'm learning this controller because I want to have a live set. I want to add it to my arsenal. And I wrote that in my goals, so I'm sticking with it. And it is hard, it's laborious. And so if you go into music production day one trying to be like someone else, it's going to feel like that. It's going to suck. But if you go into it and you're like, yo, I really like dubstep. So you start the journey, right? And you, on the workstation, it has virtual instruments. So maybe you just start pressing your keyboard or penciling in notes on a software that sounds dubsteppy. That's going to be a million times better, because everyone has different journeys. I know people that have only been producing a year and they make more money than me because, they just,
Oh, wow.
music is all subjective.
Yeah, that is. Yeah. I mean, I noticed that with some artists. I love listening to artists when they're more in the underground. They have their original voice, but then as soon as they go commercial, it's like they get that commercial sound and everything just sounds
Yeah.
very generalized. At least for me, like I'll start hearing certain tempos or beats or certain things and I'm like, okay, this is like the thing now that everybody's trying to do, and it really mutes the artist's voice, and that's kind of a shame. But Yeah. So stick to your genuine voice,
Yeah,
people. That's what he's trying to
that's
say,
it. Yeah.
I think, right? Oh, awesome. Well, David, as we're going to wrap things up, I really appreciate that we talked on quite a number of different things, and some of it just like very deep conversation, which I always appreciate, because it's like these are the kind of things that we need to start just being open to talking about, uh, and listening to and hearing the different perspectives on it. And so I really appreciate you opening up on everything. Um, is there anything else that you would like to share with our listeners? Obviously, I'm going to include your contact information in the bio so people can go on Instagram, YouTube. I think you'll have that up by the
Yeah.
time by the time I post this. I usually post my episodes kind of intuitively on a week to week basis. And then your singles dropping on
June 7th. Yeah, good
June
memory. Yeah, yeah.
6th, you said? Oh, 7th. Yeah. So I'm going to add that on there. Anything else that you want to share
Mm,
or add to
just all
what we
love,
talked about?
thank you for having me on here. Thank you to anybody listening, listening to our conversation, like, means a lot. And then, yeah, just, don't let, fuck the haters, they're out there.
Yeah, fuck them.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do you, boo boo. Okay. Oh, I love it. Well, thank you everybody so much for taking the time to listen to us today. Again, go check out his music and check out the YouTube and his single that's about to drop. I really appreciate all of your time today, and until the next one. And David, again, thank
Thank
you
you for
so
having
much
me.
for being on the show. I really appreciate you. Yes. All right. Have a good one, y'all.